Okay, so me and Tim here have, what do we have? 33 minutes to explain what we're doing.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Nothing. We're not really doing anything. This weather that you can see outside behind me, I'm going to take a walk here. And while I'm explaining this, I don't know why, I'm just going to hold this out here and then I will point to it with my fancy 3D or 360 camera. I have a John Deere Ignition Ether horn switch for this 5020 because the one that I originally purchased is a fancy chrome one and it's a piece of shit. I can't, it's junk. So I got the actual John Deere one. It came from AI. Now, it'll work, you just got to turn the key on, but it sucks. It's had problems. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go for a walk and we're going to talk about the John Deere. Well, a couple of things. The 8530 for one thing. And I'm going to upload this in 360 so that you guys can, I believe, you should be able to film or swipe across. If not, I'm sorry. And you get to look at my ugly mug and everything else that I'm driving by. I don't know. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to do two ways to do this video. Upload one unlisted, and then I'll go in and see if I can make it work. And then if it does, then I'll list it. If not, then I'll do the editing. So, anyway, and then as I'm walking around here, you can see what I'm doing. So anyways, I got a phone call on Wednesday about the 8530. And John Deere, John Deere, was insisting that the dealer do a bunch of tests for the tractor. Even though the mechanic that's doing the work said, hey, it's the hydro. He's done several of these, and the hydro has been bad. So, it's the hydro. Well, John Deere wouldn't go on the mechanic's experience. John Deere only went on what John Deere wants, and that is to spend a lot of my money unnecessarily because I pretty much had figured that it was the hydro. They figured it was a hydro, but John Deere wants to spend all my money. So, whatever. John Deere can go spend my money. It's fine. So they do the tests, and then they do more tests. And Friday comes along, and Thursday comes along, and there's more tests that John Deere is requiring, and there's a bunch of deer. See, now this is the fucked up thing about this area. And there's about 25 deer right there. So if you've got if this is working, you should be able to see those deer down there. You can even zoom this in. But anyway, there they go, little white tails a flailing. So anyway, John Deere says we're not going to replace anything because of until these tests are performed. They spent a whole 5 days working on this tractor, performing silly tests that in the end resulted in a bad hydro in the tractor, in which they are supposed to pay half of. So, you know, as funny and silly as that is, I'm the guy that's paying the bill. So today I got a phone call from Deere Country, and they're like, listen, it is the hydro. Deere has confirmed it's the hydro. It's not the wiring harness. And I'm thinking to myself, listen, you bastards, if Deere wants to run me out of money, I mean, that's a good way of doing it, is just say, keep running tests on my dollar, you know, and I'm the guy that's got to pay for the labor. But well, here, if you can see this, this is grass that's laying all over the ground here that I cut a week ago. But the nice thing is cooled off outside, so it's not growing up through it, and I'll be able to get it pretty easy. So Deere goes ahead and says it's a bad hydro, and now you can do the work on it, because they were debating whether it was a hydro or a wiring harness. Well, it made no sense for me that it was a wiring harness. It made perfect sense that it was the hydro, because it didn't do it on the flat. It didn't do it on going up hills. It only would do it on the downhills when the hydro had to hold back the tractor. Even though I put my foot on the brake, I know there's some people out there that say you don't know how to run a hydro, or a Vario, which I do. I read the manual, guys, I did. Not all of it, but a fair portion on what that transmission is capable of doing and what it isn't capable of doing. So anyway, I do that's a tractor. Anyway, my dad must be back. So anyways, they claim that it's a hydro. So the girl, she calls me up and she says, well, our estimate is going to be pretty accurate. It's going to be somewhere between $8,000 and $10,000. Like, well, wow. So if they would have just called me and said, hey, listen, we're going to run a bunch of tests. It's going to cost you $3,500 for the test. And, it could be one of two things. It could be the hydro or it could be the wiring harness. I'd have said replace them both. Replace the hydro and the wiring harness, because the wiring harness maximum could be, $1,000, maybe $1,500. But it sure as hell ain't $3,500 worth of labor. Isn't that nuts? $3,500. I mean, that's the labor just to do these tests, and now they get to split the tractor in half. And it's not the dealership's fault. The dealership's just doing what John Deere says they have to do. Oh, so she calls me and she says, well, it's $200 to ship that part in. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? You didn't ship it in? I mean, knowing that it's going to be the hydro, your guy says it's going to be the hydro, ship the damn hydro, and you can always have it on the shelf somewhere for somebody else that has this problem. Because apparently it is a fairly common problem where Deere wouldn't be offering to pay half of the bill. So, anyway, I'm a little frustrated with that. I would have just changed I should have did it myself. I really should have. And she tells me today that the mechanic can have this thing split in half, the hydro taken out, and put back in a day and a half. So, a day and a half's labor, which is, what, 12 hours? 12 hours of actual work to replace this hydro, and they've already got 5 days of labor into it doing these tests. So, anyways, maybe you can tell the frustration in my voice. Yeah, so that's the deal. I'm really just walking down here to see what this hay looks like, if it's growing through or whatnot, and talking to you about my 8530. I love the tractor. I love the tractor. And it'll be fixed. And it'll be good. And it'll all be good because while they're in there, they're doing all the upgrades that need to be done. The hydro is going to be an upgraded hydro. And so that should be good for the next, 20,000 hours. I've heard guys going with these tractors, 17,000 hours, never had a lick of trouble with them. And then, of course, you get the guy that says, oh my God, the thing was a nightmare from day one. Well, I have a tractor that I like a lot, and it works really well in my operation. And it's a little sick, and now it's getting fixed. And if that's the worst thing that happens, and it costs me $8,000 to $10,000, well, then I guess it costs me $8,000 to $10,000 to take a tractor that I saved $60,000, $70,000 on by buying it in Europe, or not Europe, England, in the United Kingdom, and I add $10,000 to that. To me, it's still a better deal. So, yeah. So I'm still money ahead on that tractor, and I'm happy. I'm happy that it's going to get fixed, and it's not going to be a $40,000 job, because that transmission to replace it, because they would replace it. If it wasn't that there was a PIP, the dealerships here in the United States, they're not allowed to work on those Vario transmissions, or those IVT transmissions, so they have to throw them away, basically go in on a reman service with it, and that's what happens. So this one here is not going through the reman, it's going to have the hydro put in. So that's that. So he said that it'll be Wednesday before the part gets there, $200 to ship it, so it gets there by Wednesday. Thursday morning, he will split it, rip it apart. Friday afternoon, tractor should be back together and run through its tests. And hopefully, I get a call that I can pick it up on Saturday, which I'd be quite happy about. I can pick it up on Saturday, and that'll work for me. So how long have I been yammering? About 10 minutes. So to all you guys worried about my health, I'm not unhealthy. Try holding a camera at arm's length with your arm elevated above your heart and talking while walking, whether it be uphill, downhill, side hill, whatever. It's difficult at best. Got a hangnail there's bugging me. So anyway, yeah. Am I out of shape? A little bit. Should I be? No, but I am, and I should do more walking. Just because I am 46 years old, I do want to be around for William and have a good time. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to shut up because hopefully tomorrow the sun comes out, we get a little bit of wind, you get this shit all dried out. Joseph found a mud hole here the other day, the ding dong. He should have knew better than to be in there. But yeah, so I'm just hoping I can get this stuff made tomorrow. Anyways, talk to you later. Hope this worked out.